Everybody's been talking about this new Salesforce's Agent Force, and especially after Dreamforce, there's a lot of buzz. It's this AI-powered CRM, they're saying, can automate all kinds of tasks and potentially boost revenue and make these really personalized customer experiences.
Sounds amazing.
Right. Yeah, it really could be a game
Oh, but
changer.
there's always a but, right? Like what happens to the human agents? If AI can just do everything. And then there's the whole data privacy issue. Like, are we just giving these companies even more of our information? Plus, can smaller businesses even afford this technology?
Those are all really good questions, and we're definitely going to dig into all of that.
Well, we've been going through tons of articles and research, and honestly, it's a lot to process. So we're going to try to break it down for you, cut through all the hype, and figure out what this technology actually means for businesses and for, everyday people like us. So to start off, what exactly is Agent Force? I mean, it's more than just a chatbot, right? You're right. It's way more sophisticated than that. To really understand Agent Force, I think you need to look at how AI has evolved within Salesforce. Like,
Wow.
think back to 2016 when they first came out with Einstein. That was like the predictive wave.
Yeah.
It was focused on stuff like, lead scoring and opportunity insights.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Einstein was going to make our sales lives so much easier.
Exactly. And then came the co-pilot wave with Einstein 1. AI was more like your sidekick, helping out with tasks and generating content. So Agent Force is the next step, the autonomous wave.
Autonomous. So you mean these agents are making decisions like on their own?
Exactly. Agent Force agents don't just respond to prompts. They use data to actually make decisions and take action. And all this is powered by something called the Atlas Reasoning Engine, which connects to Data Cloud. That's Salesforce's huge data repository.
So it's like having this like super smart data-driven assistant working behind the scenes 24/7.
That's a really good way to put it. A perfect example is how Salesforce's service offerings have changed. Remember Live Agent? Then came Einstein bots, then Copilot for service, and now we've got these autonomous service agents. Each one's building on the last with more and more AI.
Wow, it sounds pretty impressive, but I'm guessing there are some hurdles to actually using this. Not everyone can just like flip a switch and have Agent Force right.
Yeah, you're right. There are some things you need first. You need to have one of the higher level Salesforce editions. So Enterprise Unlimited Performance or Einstein 1. And this is where it gets a little technical. You also need to have Data Cloud configured.
Wait, hold on. Let's break that down for our listeners.
Yeah.
What does Data Cloud configured even mean? It sounds kind of intimidating.
It's really not as scary as it sounds. It basically means you've organized your data in a way that Agent Force can understand and use. You have to set up these things called data streams, which are like pipelines bringing data into Data Cloud from different sources. And then you create data model objects. They're like representations of your business data, like customers, products, orders, things like that.
So it's like laying the foundation before you can build the house. You need the data organized before Agent Force can work its magic.
Exactly. And then there's the pricing model, which is a change from traditional Salesforce licensing.
Ah, yes, the cost factor. I keep hearing about this conversation-based pricing for Agent Force. What does that mean practically?
It means you pay based on how many conversations Agent Force handles. It starts at $2 per conversation, but there are volume discounts for companies that use it a lot.
$2 a conversation. Okay. But how do they define a conversation? It can't just be like any little interaction with the AI, right?
No, you're right. A conversation has very specific start and end points. So it starts when the agent gives its first response, and it ends when one of a few things happens. Either it gets transferred to a human agent, the customer is the conversation, or the query goes over like a 24-hour time limit.
Interesting. So there are like clear boundaries. But you mentioned volume discounts. Does that mean smaller businesses might find Agent Force less cost-effective?
Yeah, that's a really important point. If you don't have a high volume of customer interactions, the per conversation cost might add up pretty fast compared to like a flat fee for a traditional Service Cloud license.
So there's a trade-off there. Smaller business might get more efficient with Agent Force, but they need to think about the potential cost increase.
Exactly. And it's not just the base cost per conversation either. There are other things to consider, like Data Cloud credits and Einstein requests.
Einstein requests. Okay, now I'm lost. What are those?
Basically, an Einstein request is any time the AI needs to use the large language model to generate a response. It's like the AI thinking to come up with an answer. And the cost of these requests depends on how many words are in the AI's response. So longer, more complex answers will cost more.
So it's not just about the number of conversations, but also how complex they are.
Right. Salesforce does have resources that explain all these costs in detail, but it's definitely something to consider, especially because it's so different from the per-seat pricing we're used to with Service Cloud.
This is a lot to take in. We're talking about a totally new way to think about customer service and what it costs.
Absolutely. And it brings up some tough questions like, will this lead to fewer Service Cloud licenses?
Right.
Will Agent Force completely replace human agents?
Or maybe it's more nuanced. Maybe Agent Force will handle the simpler, more routine stuff, and that would free up human agents to deal with the more complex issues, the stuff that needs a human touch.
That's definitely a possibility. It might not be a replacement, but a shift in what human agents do. And it might even free up resources to be used for things like customer success, where building relationships is really important.
And what about Salesforce's take on all this? They've put a lot into their core products like Sales and Service Cloud. Surely they're not just going to abandon those.
No, not at all. They're still really committed to those core products, but they're also pushing new things like Salesforce Foundations, which gives customers access to a bunch of features across different clouds, including Agentforce.
Foundations. That's a good point. It sounds like a way for companies to kind of test out Agent Force without going all in right away.
Exactly. Foundations is a lower risk way to experiment with different Salesforce solutions, including Data Cloud, and even a preview of the new Salesforce user experience. It could be a good way to start for businesses that want to explore Agentforce without jumping into the deep end.
Okay, so we've talked about why Salesforce is doing this, who can use it, and how much it might cost. Now let's talk about how you actually build and manage these AI agents. Is it like a super technical process?
Well, Salesforce has been saying it's low code. They've made these pre-built building blocks to make it easier. There are topics, which define what the agent can do, topic actions, which help it decide how to respond to different situations, and then actions themselves, which are the actual flows prompts or APIs that make things happen.
So it's like putting together a puzzle, but with pre-made pieces. You don't have to start from scratch.
That's a good way to think about it. And there are even standard prompts for common tasks, like writing emails or searching knowledge bases. Plus, they have a whole library of industry-specific prompts. Over 100 of them.
Wow, over 100. It sounds like they really want to make this work for all kinds of businesses. But once you've built these agents and you set them loose, how do you know if they're actually working? How do you measure their impact?
That's really important. You can't just let them run wild. You need to track things like how many tasks they complete, how many tasks they have to hand off to human agents, and of course, how much time they're saving overall.
Makes sense. Are there any tools within Salesforce that can help with that?
Yep. Remember Omni Supervisor? The feature for overseeing human agents in Service Cloud?
Yeah.
Well, they've repurposed it for Agentforce. You can use it to track those key metrics, visualize how the agents are performing, make changes if you need to. It's like a control panel for your AI workforce.
Okay, so we've covered the basics. What Agentforce is, who can use it, how to build it, and even how to measure if it's working. But I feel like there's still more to explore.
Definitely. We need to talk about how Agentforce fits into all of Salesforce's AI tools. Like, what about things like Prompt Builder and Model Builder? Are those still important?
And of course, the big question, trust. All this AI and data access is making people worry about privacy and responsible use. What's Salesforce doing about that?
That's where the Einstein Trust Layer comes in. It's a set of features and guardrails designed to make sure Agentforce is used responsibly and ethically. We'll get into the details after a short break.
Right, that's good.